What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I am back with some more Age of Mythology. The Titans action spawning in the right side of the map in the blue color, playing as Odin. He is not trash, but his clan name is trash. He's actually Bird. Birdo is the wordo. His opponent today, that was awful. His opponent today in the red color playing as Set is none other than Hell's Ravage. I vaguely recall casting these guys' game recently. Fairly sure it's not this one. It'll be funny if it is and we get a multiple upload, but I'm fairly sure this is something new. We've got a Set versus Odin game on Savannah. And if I know anything about any of these players, Hell's Ravage is all about abuse, and Bird is all about, well, he's only playing Odin, so in a way, only about abuse as well, but more so about creativity and doing some things a little bit differently in order to get advantages. But in the end of the day, creativity only gets you so far, and you do have to come back and play solidly as well, which he does do. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen in this game. A lot of these Norse players have been struggling mightily against the Egyptian gods. There is kind of a paper scissors rock circle that's going on amongst the top players. At least that's what they believe. It's not 100% real, but it's what they believe. And that paper scissors rock kind of thing is Norse beats Greek beats Egyptian beats Norse. So we're currently in that situation where we are watching a Norse and an Egyptian. So according to the pros, according to the experts, the Egyptians are favored in this matchup. Now, whether that's actually true or not, and it just seems to be anecdotally how it's going, or if maybe some civilizations are busted where they otherwise might not be, who knows? I don't. And we'll see how this game is going to play out. We've got the temple coming down now for Bird, and he is currently consuming the rest of scouting in this bottom corner with those goats. Nice and smart getting that done. He is Odin, so he does get those ravens out really early. Odin is possibly tied with as good of a scouting as Set, just because of those early ravens nowadays. Whereas if you had the ravens a little bit later, his scouting wouldn't be as good. So best scout in the game, arguably, is the Odin civilization, on par with Set, obviously. So Hell's now chucking up his temple. This is a very, very late temple, and he is indeed having to utilize the Pharaoh to empower this one up. We've talked about it. We'll talk about it again. Set can do a 4:30 advance time with as much food, with 1,000 food in his base. It doesn't really matter as long as you're converting animals and sending them back home. Set can do a 4:30 on basically every single map with 2 monuments. And you don't need to empower the temple. You don't need to do anything. You just have to subscribe on the Patreon for a full walkthrough. Actually, I might have put it. It might even be free. I can't remember. Anyways, Egyptian build is basically 2 villages on gold, 2 villages on food, 2 villages on gold, rest on food. And you're good to go. Essentially, there is a villager that goes on to gold somewhere along the lines there. But point being, slightly late advance time from Hells. No problem. He's going Anubis, not going through Ptah. This isn't so much of a surprise. We've been seeing a lot of Anubis in this matchup of late because the Norse player, they have their Hersa, especially Odin. They can't chase the Anubites, so building somewhere in the vicinity of 3 Anubites is equivalent to building like 15 Centaur running around causing lots of chaos. So it's very, very cool. Very, very cool. Anyways, we do see the granary coming up on this position here. The Raven floating overhead, and Bird is going through Freya as well. No real surprises there. Heimdall in this matchup would be a little bit greedy, though I do like the idea of Heimdall, especially against Egyptian, but maybe not so much against Isis, but this is Set. But the idea being safeguard walls nice and early to keep you safe against the Anubites, and then also the Undermine to prevent a Migdol from going up, or even prevent the barracks from going up straight away here, as that's getting empowered up by Hell's Hells' villagers. He gets a lot of villagers onto that one to get that one up to make sure he's getting those axemen out nice and fast to prevent any sort of raids early. Nice play there from Hells. So the axemen are going to hard counter any sort of early game that the Norse player has got. And axemen are incredibly strong against Norse. On the fact that they actually come out, and we'll see this here, they come out with a absolutely ridiculous amount of hack armor. Now, they are technically counter infantry, so they should have high hack armor, maybe. But if you compare them to, say, the Hypaspist, which is also counter infantry, the Hypaspist starts with 34% hack armor, is a heroic age counter infantry unit versus the axe, and more expensive versus the Axeman, which is a classical age counter infantry unit with more hack armor. So things start getting a little bit confusing. Yes, it has less HP as well, but things get confusing in terms of what you're supposed to counter with. Counter infantry, you are supposed to counter with with cavalry, but it starts getting a little bit murky here in this matchup. We'll see what Bird's going to do. He is making himself those raiding cavalry straight away, and he has claimed the middle of the map here. Not building houses in the middle of the map. Look at this. One lone Ulfsark back at home. I guarantee you, Mr. Bird. Bird is the word, and he has listened to me. He sends the Ulfsark forward. He builds forward. So, I love it. I absolutely love it. It's great. Everything he's going to want here from this is going to happen. These longhouses are distraction longhouses at the very worst, which means that his opponent, Hells, is going to spend too much time knocking him down, not getting value where he otherwise would have been killing houses, and he can easily just rebuild those longhouses in his base if he needs to. I love it. I love it. I'm a big fan. Nice play here from Bird, as Hells is still looking to move forward. He's got himself a Pharaoh. He's got himself a Priest. The raiding cavalry do swing around the back side here. Those villagers, there's 10 of them here, can very easily turn around and start shanking if they so choose, and they actually are doing that, but that's going to be very easy for Bird to micro around and cause some issues there, as he's still going to be doing that one there. And he's pushing back and in and around. 71 population for Hells. Bird at 73 population. So a little bit of an advantage, or at least equal here for our Norse player. As our Egyptian player, Hells is just jockeying back and forth, not really able to do all too much here. He is going to be needing to get out some more slingers here, definitely, to deal with that throwing axeman ball that's kind of established. And look at this. This is time that would otherwise normally be spent getting real damage done. We do see a vision getting thrown down here by Hells. Right here, he might be looking to cast, I was going to say he might be looking to cast Shifting Sands, but he doesn't have Shifting Sands. I'm not sure what the vision is for. Just checking to see, I guess, exactly what Bird's doing here. As he's retreating away, we do see some raids coming onto this position with the Valkyrie to help out. It's going to be a lot of damage here. Maybe even a forest fire, and that's exactly what's going to happen. 2 villagers down thus far. A 3rd villager going to be falling. Our 4th villager going to be falling. Hells is not paying attention to this one well at all. A 5th villager falling. Almost 6 villagers going down here from this one raid at 7 minutes 55 seconds into the game is absolutely huge for Bird. Hells is trying to push in, but he does not have the army right now to deal with what Bird's got in his base. We've already got that medium infantry coming through, and Hells is on the back foot very much so here, as Bird has got the raid in. The villagers back onto this hunt. I'm sure that Valkyrie will be returning back. And honestly, Hells has gotten 0 value out of these Anubites thus far. He's got Guardian Anubites. He's taking down that middle longhouse. And obviously, like I've said, this is a distraction longhouse at very worst. And that is exactly what it's done, as we see the longhouse is getting thrown back up in the main base for Bird. He's only got 1 here. He's going to need to throw another one down. He's actually got 2 here, maybe throw. He's got 3 here, so he's completely fine. I tell a lie. He's already sorted out completely well. We just see another villager getting sniped down there as Bird comes in and picks that one off. The Anubites coming back in, going to try and take down said Valkyrie here as they jump in and jump onto her, as the raiding cavalry going to attempt to continue picking off villagers here. Nice micro from Bird to pull the Guardian Anubite away. Another villager going down. Nice micro there from Bird as well. He is controlling these raiding cavalry so ridiculously well. Another villager kill. This raiding cavalry, 9 HP remaining. Going to be able to get out of there as well. Their Odin is cavalry to boot as well, so they're going to heal back up. I think he's dropped down to 3 HP there. as he's trying to get out. One more attack onto the Raiden Cavalry might be falling here. They do jump in, but miss. The Raiden Cavalry are currently bumping into this Spearman for whatever reason, as the Raiden Cavalry simply just running around. And while this is going on, Bird is getting himself a second town center. Hells, on the other hand, still one town center, throwing up the armory. There is a world here where there could have potentially been a heroic age timing onto the town center, but after losing that many villages on food, that food income that would normally be coming through here, it's 6-7 villages-ish that have fallen, probably would be sitting up at about 500 food here, just with those villages. But because he lost them all, he's not even close to the heroic age. So this is going to be very, very difficult for him. We do see this Plague of Serpents getting thrown down as a bit of a desperation attempt here from Hells, as Bird is playing this one absolutely insanely beautifully here. However, there is a real problem for Bird in that his distraction tactics do end up faulting as he goes to the second gold mine, because it's a lot easier to get onto said second gold mine. I would love to see Bird throw up some walls nice and fast on both sides of this gold mine to make sure he doesn't get raided here. And Hells is going to be desperately searching for an attempt to get back into this game. He basically needs to be killing villagers non-stop. Otherwise, things are going to be incredibly tough. And this is exactly looking like what's happening here. He sneaks around the back. He's going to get one dwarf kill here, potentially. The dwarf is getting away as this other Anubite comes in onto this location. The Anubites manage to jump in. The villagers making their way back into the town center, back to safety. Bird has not got his walls up just yet, and Hells is going to be happy about that little bit amount of damage there, but not being able to path block it all there. Those villagers get to safety. We see the army coming back in onto this location. One villager being spotted here will be going down, as Hells is still struggling for villagers. He's currently 115 to 115 population. His army is gigantic here because he has no villagers. Normally he'd be up at, say, 35, 45 villagers here, but he's lost so many, and it's all been replaced in army. So the army is huge for Hells. The army is kind of okay for Bird, but he's going to be finding it very difficult to win fights here, as another villager does end up going down. Hell's going to be trying to fight underneath this town center fire for just a little bit. These Anubites here getting targeted down. He's going to need to retreat them away if he wants to keep them alive. We do see one Anubite has spotted this gold mine over here, as things are starting to go the wayside of Hells, as he's got the tempo and he's trying to push these villagers very much out of position here. The ox cart gets taken down. More Anubites jumping in onto this location. If they actually are controlled here, they're going to be able to do a whole bunch of splash damage onto those dwarves, as the dwarves getting pushed back. The army here for Hells swinging around, going to attempt to prevent them from retreating away. Over here, these villagers of Hells in the middle of the map are going to start getting targeted down. We see the villagers making their way onto this middle gold mine here, as Hells is in an incredibly weird position where he's losing villagers, he's killing villagers, so many dead dwarves here, but Bird's got 2 town centers. He's going to be able to continue building those villages out of the town, so it's have an advantage where that's concerned. But both players very much hurting here, as we're starting to see the farms coming up for Bird. Over here, we do see one granary getting taken down. The army of Hells is going to be making their way in onto this position. The villagers all retreating back into the town center. Well, they are simply just looking to drop off some gold because there's nothing here. And now I would imagine Bird is going to be making his way elsewhere, as these raiding cavalry have spotted Hells' gold mining operation over here. He's going to have to retreat away from that one there straight away. Those medium raiders start being very, very scary here at this stage of the game, because you just can't really fight them back like you would normally fight them back, as we are seeing Hells still like very confused about where the gold is, but it's probably over here, could be elsewhere, and maybe Well, it's actually seemingly looking like Bird is saying, look, I don't need gold at this point. I just need farms. And the Nubites are going to spot these dwarves. Going to be even more dead dwarves as the Nubites jump in. 2 dead dwarves. A 3rd dead dwarf potentially coming. An ox cart going to be going down. There is the world here where Bird just says, hey, I don't really care for the time being. I'm just going to get all my food income. I'm going to spend everything I have, all the favor I have, I'm going to spend on Valkyrie, and that's going to be how I'm going to get back into this game in terms of onto a gold mine. But more villagers here out of the base for Hells. What is he thinking right now? He is trying to hunt very little amounts of giraffe. He's got no gold mines remaining. Bird is all over him in this game. as their villagers getting chased down. The army of Hells coming back. His Anubites still looking very threatening here as they're going to return back onto this gold mine over here. The army of Hells, he's not paying attention. He's currently taking a little bit of damage, but does turn and has managed to keep his villagers alive for the time being. We see one Raven floating overhead, checking out the gold mine. The gold mine has expired here for Hell, so he's going to have to move up onto this gold mine over here. And now both players searching for gold. Both players in a very difficult position. We do have, we do not have Thundering Hooves just yet for Bird, so he's not really able to chase down these Anubites as well as he might have liked. As these villagers here getting chased down, we see an attempted longhouse ghost building getting thrown down by Bird as he doesn't have enough gold to really spend on anything else, I would say, in those wall segments he throws down. We do see the army coming back in here, the villagers turning around, attempting to fight this one. The throwing axeman over here getting some nice fire there as the army coming through for Hells, trying to back him up. Bird's at 105 population. Hells is at 91 population. The Anubites coming in, only one Ursa here. This is very, very good for the Myth unit. Using players, when the opponent has no heroes, you get a lot of damage done onto the enemy army for free. The villagers trying to get this gold mine up as we do see some straggler axemen getting sniped down. Nice play there. The villagers up on this gold mine over here as the raiding cavalry going to be making their way over here. No attempted walls from Hells just yet, but we do see an attempt of walls from Bird as the Nubites are going to be moving in onto this position, jumping around. Kettle Forktongue going to be the hero that we want but don't deserve, as he's going to town on these Anubites as Hells is not paying attention. He could be very, very easily taking these villagers down, but does manage to end that Herser's life there. Going to be moving in, getting more damage done. Moving over here, this Pharaoh Axeman underneath their towns, and a bit of a mistake there from Hells as he is trying to get more damage done onto these villagers, getting a couple more villager kills here. One Anubite going down to the villagers as Bird just says, look, I don't even care. I'm going to just shank you to death, and that's going to be completely fine. If you want to jump back in, they're all going to die, but more Anubites coming in onto this position, going to start going to town on these villages. Another Ursa does come out. The walls are almost finished up here for Bird to keep himself safe. Meanwhile, raiding cavalry coming up onto this position. We do have ourselves 5 spearmen already here, 6 spearmen coming in. This very low HP raiding cavalry here as well. The villagers getting pulled, going to be starting to shank those raiding cavalry here as Bird is losing out on this raid. He has almost dealt with this raid, though the Anubites are still alive, though. One Ursa here going to be able to finish this one off. The villagers returning back onto the gold mine here. One ox cart is in here as well. So the Unibite of Hells retreating away. The Axemen have spotted this location as we do see a whole bunch of units now making their way over here for Hells. Is going to attempt to get some sort of ghost building up here so as to prevent the villagers from retreating here. A third town center now coming up for Bird. This is going to be 3 town centers to Hell's Ravagers. 1 town center. Absolutely huge, but more villagers are going to be falling here. Will Hells be able to continue getting up these ghost buildings or not? Will he even attempt to do so? He's dropped one down. There goes another one as the Slinger's trying to path block. We do see the Anubite coming in, going to get a bit of a splash damage in as more villagers are falling, but Bird, he's got himself his town centers. He's got himself his 3rd gold mine. Hells is at 12,315 compared to Bird, who's at 27,12, and that's how many villages, so many villages for Bird, because he's got the town centers, because he's got the farms. Completely fine in that department there. We're going to start seeing more raids coming through, more villagers falling for Hells. Every villager that Hells loses hurts way more than every villager that Bird loses in this game, and the absolute nutty raids from both these players continuing as this is such a bloodthirsty game here. As more units moving in onto this position, we're starting to see some side build action coming down for Bird. I love this when your opponent is getting that gold and it's completely open. Why not get a longhouse here? Start making some Ulfsark onto that location. Can be absolutely brutal. The throwing axeman here starting to target down slingers is not what you want to be doing, as these slingers are going to get max value sniping all of those throwing axemen. Absolutely huge for Hells here to get those kills. So the Pharaoh here getting a little bit of damage, but not actually getting picked off as he's going to be swinging around now. He can't get back onto this gold mine. There's plenty of gold remaining here. I'm sure that Bird is going to be thinking about getting his way to the heroic cage. He might have to go up to something like 35, 40 farm villages to get there at this point, considering how many units are getting picked off. We've got random units in this corner over here. The villagers have snuck all the way onto this gold mine down the bottom here. Raiding cavalry getting trained into these long houses over here as he's going to continue putting pressure. How many low HP villagers are here though? Not many. Most of these are full HP, so he can't get easy kills, but he's going to continue putting pressure on here. I love this play. More and more units coming out. We've got more long houses coming down. Bird doesn't even want to be transitioning those villagers off of wood onto farms. He just wants the wood for more units. We just see the Guardian Anubites attempting to come in onto this position too far away. Is the ox cart the villagers for the Anubite that jump in there? Pretty lucky, but good nonetheless. As the army of Hell's Ravage coming in here, he still does not have himself a second town center. He's got a lot of gold in the bank now. Definitely will be wanting to get a second town center. The villagers over here have been spotted, are getting sniped down here as Bird is just completely trouncing on Hell's Ravage's economy, and he's just not able to get the economy that he wants here in this game. This classical fight that Hell's has been trying to accomplish has not gotten the value that he would have wanted. In fact, he has taken so much damage in this game that he has to reconsider this strategy, considering how much Bird was able to do here. Though one raiding cavalry in the base here. Hells, does he have himself crenellations? No, he does not, but the units do end up falling nonetheless, as Hells can continue to fight here. Bird is still going to be struggling to actually win these fights in the classical age against the classical age army of the Egyptian. It generally does actually still favor the Egyptian in the classical age, but as the Norse player gets into that heroic age, gets those heavy upgrades, these compositions go very much in favor of the Norse. But it's seemingly looking like Bird has got enough here to push through, though. An Anubite does come through. These units do end up falling. We do have some Anubites in onto this position over here. If we check out Bird's economy here, he is getting very close to being able to get to the next age, and he is now able to advance. He is going through Skadi. There is no surprises where that's concerned. Njord at this point, Skadi at this point probably doesn't matter. Bird is so far in front, but the Skadi option very, very safe, as we are seeing a watchtower getting thrown up here as the Oxguard does spot these villagers on this gold mine here. Bird 138 population here is basically pure gatherer economy. The idea of getting dwarves versus gatherers is actually a really interesting idea in general, but this game Bird has been forced into it. The idea essentially is that gatherers gather at the same rate as Greek villagers do on gold. That people forget that they're actually just as good as Greek villagers, which means they're still pretty bloody good. Dwarves gather much faster, but they do cost gold and they train a little bit slower, so you get that sort of thing from it, and you can take what you want from that, as we are seeing the Pharaoh getting sniped down here by one raiding cavalry. Nice play by Bird to do that, and there is the heroic age. Bird is going to be able to start spamming out those frost giants, start getting the upgrades. We do see a whole bunch of Olsark have managed to come in onto this gold mine, pushing this one here. The army moving forward. We could see a frost get thrown down here, but I don't think that that's really much point to that at all, as he's got an overwhelming advantage here. Hells has got himself 82 population of 115. The Anubites coming in, and Bird has just said, I do not care at all here about your myth units. I'm just going to keep going. We see a fourth town center grab here from Bird. His economy is absolutely ginormous. Don't see a market just yet, but I'm sure that that will be on the cards for the mythic age. Obviously, Ragnarok here completely destroys those Anubites, makes them completely useless. It's going to be very hard to deal with all of the villages that Bird has amassed here. We are seeing the villagers now making their way up onto another gold mine. There is an obelisk here, so Hells will notice it. And Bird's got to be careful, though he does have the frost giants now, so he can send them over. He's no longer got any gold here. We see a forward hill fort coming down on that position here. And we do see that marker coming down in the kind of center of the map. It's not the worst market I've ever seen in my life, but it's not in the corner. But normally you kind of have to do that nonetheless. We do see a whole bunch of units now making their way up onto this top gold mine here. as Bird is desperately in need of that gold, but he does have a whole bunch of units over here. The Spearman coming in, and in that moment, Els decides, yep, 4 town center. Bird here, 4 town center. Odin, maybe too much for my completely shot eco. Very little gold remaining. Very difficult to continue in this game. And Bird manages to make it work here, taking down the Anubis set, the Anubite set of Hell's Ravage with Odin, something that we don't see too often. Normally we see the Odin players getting completely run over here, but that one idea of putting 2 longhouses in the middle and all the houses and your actual population houses at home is so smart, because it's a distraction, very much so a distraction to gain time, that very much needed time for the Norse player to hit those raids and utilize the speed advantage that the Norse player has. There are ideas of simply just getting yourself watchtowers instead, but this is obviously much cheaper than getting watchtowers, or not much cheaper, but a little bit cheaper, and also probably a little bit more safe. So very nice play here from Bird. An incredibly insane game here. Lots of stuff going on. And Bird gets the dub. GG. If you guys enjoyed this game, please consider hitting the follow on the Twitch. If you guys are on the YouTubes, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next game.